Few races on the NASCAR schedule get fans as jacked up and ready to go as the Bristol night race. On TV, millions of fans strap in front of their televisions ready to see an action movie in the form of a NASCAR race. At the track, there's well over 100,000 spectators buzzing, ready to go for another spectacle at the last great Coliseum. For decades, the Bristol night race was a hotbed for rivalries and highlight reel moments. But in the tides of public opinion, it began to change in 2007. See, 2007 was a big transition year for both NASCAR and the Bristol Motor Speedway. NASCAR had introduced the car Tomorrow, aka the COT. And in the course of that time, they did this in front of 160,000 rabid Bristol fans for the debut. Bristol had just went through a reconfiguration as well. And in the subsequent years, the racing would change immensely as the sport itself also would. Instead of a single groove, low-line freight train, the racing became more multi-groove and side-by-side. This would be good at basically any other track, but the problem was this wasn't Bristol for many fans, and it really eliminated one major aspect about Bristol that every fan loved: the bump and run. Slowly, as each year ticked by, frustration grew among more and more race fans, and the change in the racing was part of a greater change of the sport itself from what they loved. The last straw was the 2012 spring race at Bristol that saw the Coliseum half empty and showing off relatively blasé racing, punctuated most by a slight contact between Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr., causing the 24 to crash out due to a flat tire. Bristol and SMI at the time knew that something had to be done. This was a hemorrhage of viewership. Their choice was to grind down the high line in an effort to make the old school bottom line the preferred choice again. But in an odd turn of events, the high line didn't weaken. In fact, it strengthened into the dominant line of the track. In a strange inverse of interests, the high line became the freight train. The race's prelude only continued to get stranger. Due to qualifying being washed out, Casey Mears would roll off from the pole due to having the fastest lap in practice. And not only that, but Mears actually held his own for a little bit, leading laps early. But trouble was quick to appear.
You can see how quick it happens too. There's just nowhere to go, and once you get turned on these straightaways, they're banked as well. They're just going to take you right down to the inside wall.
Now, after the green came out, Mears really couldn't keep the lead for long, as the young driver Joey Logano had a fast machine. The high line, especially in the pack, was key, and the only way to pass on the bottom was to perform a slide job. So basically, to make a pass, you had to be really daring. As Logano led, he lapped good cars, including that of Tony Stewart. Stewart's night would get a bit more interesting later, though. Behind Logano, drivers like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and Denny Hamlin were all making up major ground. Now, trouble was brewing, though, as the field stacked up, and by lap 82, another yellow was out for debris. After most of the field pitted, they lined him up and sent him back off. Passing the 100-lap mark, Logano's dominance was challenged by Kasey Kahne, and by the 109th lap, the newest member of the Hendrick Motorsports team took charge. Strategies were shifting, and many major players were pitting, while others like Joey Logano and Brian Vickers stayed out to lead. Due to getting into oil laid down by David Reagan during his crash, Kasey Kahne's number 5 machine hit the wall, and due to his repairs, he'd drop off the lead lap, and he really wouldn't be a factor for the remainder of the night. So Logano's yellow 20 led again. Behind him, a familiar name was coming up the scoring ticker: Matt Kenseth. So as the run started to take shape, there still were people coming and going through the pack. But before Brian Vickers could come out ahead of Joey Logano, trouble brought out yet another yellow.
Oh, trouble on the racetrack, guys.
Contact between one Pablo Montoya and Ryan Newman sends Newman crashing, and Jeff Burton is collected.
As more front runners pitted, Dale Earnhardt Jr. stayed out in his silver Diet Dew Chevy. But the happy moment for Junior Nation would be short-lived as Denny Hamlin charged out ahead of him. But again, as the night had been so many times, There were no far green runs, and it really didn't last long whatsoever this time around. Eric Almirola and David Gilliland once again forced the caution rag to fly. As the leaders dove down the pits, the Roush duo of Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth stayed out to lead. Biffle initially prevailed, but Matt Kenseth's green and white Valvoline Ford proved to be far superior, as Biffle had been on 40-lap older tires. With a lap 254 slide job, the freshest Daytona 500 champion was on the point. But another yellow, of course, would fly. This time for 2011 Bristol Night Race winner Brad Keselowski, who was turned off the nose of Bobby Labonte. With this, the former leaders pitted, and so it was an exchange, the Roush duo giving the lead to the Hendrick duo of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. 5-time versus 4-time. As the theme of the COT era, Johnson prevailed, and his white and blue Lowe's Chevy gapping the field, with Gordon's blue and red Farmville Chevy keeping pace. As the field really encroached upon the 300-lap mark, Denny Hamlin sat third with a really fast car. The 48's lead held through the green run before Kurt Busch had even more trouble. This time, he and Regan Smith got together. Like before, some pitted while others elected to stay out. Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart would lead the field to the most entertaining laps of the season.
They made some nice adjustments as he battles for the lead now.
And there he goes. Smoke Glass going to be able to hold it.
Well, he got to the line that he wanted to, so see how far Kenseth drives it in here. He couldn't get his slide job to work quite as good. It's a lot of contact, though.
Oh, no. There they go.
Wow. That didn't work out for either one of them. Driving in, probably a little too hard. Tony not very happy. Whoa. Now, gosh, looks familiar. Well, we know what Tony thinks.
In this moment, the aura of the Bristol Night Race was back. And it was back with a flare. And adding to that, the fact that there was a line drive spiked to the nose of Matt Kenseth's Ford from Tony Stewart's helmet made it even better. But the race would have to go on. And this time, with under 160 to go, Joey Logano regained the lead. And while Logano raced off and held off Marcus Ambrose, Tony Stewart dropped a great soundbite, probably the best of the night.
We weren't that great of a race car even, but we were definitely faster than Matt after that restart. And checked up twice to not run over him, and I learned my lesson there. I'm going to run over him every chance I got from now to the end of the year, every chance I got.
As was the night's theme, another caution came out. This time, the wheel roulette of strategy gave Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick the lead, but neither would be able to hold it for long, as the longest run of the race saw the Toyotas rise to the top. Martin Truex Jr.'s number 56 Napa Auto Parts Toyota took the first turn, before Denny Hamlin regained ownership of the lead with under 100 to go. Only a few laps later, a flat tire from pole sitter Casey Mears slowed the field again. Hamlin and the leaders again elected to pit, giving the lead to chase hopeful Carl Edwards as well as part-timer Brian Vickers. Edwards didn't pit when his team told him to, so he was really on borrowed time. The 99 led through a debris yellow and then through the final caution of the night.
Maybe a little contact here. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's real unfortunate. She did have an incredible race going to be on the lead lap at 435 lap. A lot of contact tonight.
We're going to see another helmet toss. A finger point. Yes.
While I can say it's really easy to make jokes about Danica Patrick, she had run respectably inside the top 20 with well under 70 to go, and it was her first Bristol start. Her good debut ended, though, with a crunch. Up front, Edwards again had to run like hell. See, he had to hold off both the 55 and also the 11. But Vickers started this off really well, mounting a charge with less than 50 to go, and he had a hell of a save.
Get by for the race lead. We got an opening here.
We made a great move there, ran in hard. Now can he slide? He got it. No.
Not yet. Oh.
He almost had it.
Nice save. Wow.
With that many laps on him. Hamlin's up there trying to loosen him up without hitting him, but he may have to use him up a little bit to make this pass.
There it is. Now, can he put the slide job on him? And Carl with the crossover.
Carl going to be able to put the slide job on. He's going to have to, or rub him. Here comes Johnson, maybe 3 wide before this is over.
Hamlin to the lead.
With that pass, the race was decided. Hamlin ran away with it while Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon were left to go for second. But after the race, whether it was a minute or whether it was nearly a decade afterwards like we are today, this race is still remembered fondly amongst NASCAR fans. For me, it was returned to form after 2 relatively dud years for Bristol night races. But enough of my thoughts on this. Let me hear from you. What's your favorite Bristol night race? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also to all my channel members, I want to extend a big thank you to all of you. It means a lot to have your generosity. So until next time, have a good one.